I recently found out about a way to instantly connect with any audience at any time. It's a trade secret amongst professional speakers. Using this secret, though, you can connect anytime you want, any way you want, how you want. It's simple, it's effective, it's guaranteed. I wish I'd known this 10 years ago when I first joined Toastmasters. Only recently discovered it. If I had known it back then, I'd be a much better speaker now. Only discovered this in the last 2 years. Today you're going to learn that secret. How that secret works, how simple it is to implement, just making one small change in the way you're speaking. You might be thinking, Tim, were you always so concerned about connecting with the audience? Was it always a big deal? No. Probably, like you, I just came to Toastmasters thinking, how do I become a better speaker? And the way you do that, as Shannon kind of hinted at, is there's this book called The Competent Communication Manual. This steps you through 10 speeches. Now, if you're in Toastmasters, and you don't know about the Competent Communication Manual, it does get mailed out to you. So if you don't know about the Competent Communication Manual, check your mail. We have a surprise waiting for you. Everybody else, it's the Competent Communication Manual. It steps you through. It tells you all how to do all these different speeches. So the first speech is called the icebreaker. And you're reading through the icebreaker, and I'm reading through it, and it says, one of the instructions is, tell us about yourself. Talk about yourself. Read through it. That's what I want you to do. 4 to 6 minutes talking about yourself. And I think, I can do that. I can talk for 4 to 6 minutes. So I get up, and I talk for 4 minutes, 1 second, but I do it. And talk about myself, the icebreaker, done. All right, great. Want to learn more? Next speech is organizing your speech. So I go through and read up all about this great stuff about organizing your speech, how you're supposed to organize your speech. The only problem is they don't say what you're supposed to talk about. The subject is up to you. Just organize your speech. So I think, well, talked about myself in the first speech, so do it again. Get up there, talk about myself for 5 to 7 minutes now. And then moving on to the third speech. Same sort of thing. There's a speaking skill to learn. Get to the point, I think it is. Reading through it, knowing information about what to talk about. So I figured, well, I talked about myself in the first speech and the second speech. That worked out okay. So I just talk about myself. And so I go through these 10 speeches, each time talking about myself, what I'm doing, where I'm going, what's going on. And I become very good about talking about myself. Really good at it. Because I'm practicing so hard. What happens is, years and years this goes by. And then about a couple years ago, I meet this guy called Rocky. If you don't know Rocky, some people know Rocky. Guests, of course, won't know Rocky. But if you don't know Rocky, Rocky's an older guy, black hair, salesman guy. Knows a lot about speaking. Debatable, black, gray hair, blackish gray hair. You can talk to Shannon for more details about Rocky. But really knows his speaking. Really understands his speaking and how to make his speaking work. So I had done, I skipped this speech talking about myself, 5 to 7 minutes talking about me and being a secretary. Talking about being a secretary and the phones and answering the travel and all that sort of stuff. I'm really good at it. And I finished the whole thing. And afterwards I said, Rocky, what did you think of my speech? Tim, you talked 5 to 7 minutes about being a secretary. It wasn't really relevant to the audience. They didn't really care about it. Well, Rocky, that's the way Toastmasters works. I get up here and I talk about whatever I want to talk about. And then the audience has to listen. And they have to clap afterwards. And then when I'm finished, I sit down. And then I listen to something. And even if I'm bored with it, don't care about it, doesn't matter to me, they have to listen and I have to clap. Because that's how Toastmasters works. Tim, you know, in the real world, the audience can just leave anytime they want. Whoa. Didn't think about that. Rocky, what do I do? And that's when Rocky told me the secret to connecting with any audience. A simple change to make in your speeches that really can make that connection powerful. Happen any time you want. Tim, when you're speaking, use the word you. You're speaking, always use the you. Then Rocky went on to explain more about what happens sometimes at Toastmasters. What happens is you become very good about talking about yourself. Maybe you've had speeches even like this. You talk about things you're interested in, things you care about, things that matter to you. Maybe it's a business thing going on everybody's supposed to be interested in. You're fascinated and you talk about it, you go on and on about it. And the thing about it is over the course of your speeches, Toastmasters, the first speech, the second speech, you start focusing more and more on you and what you're interested in and what you're about. And as you focus more about you and what you're interested in and what you're about, and all the focus is kind of the self-focus, something else happens. You don't want it to happen, you don't like it happening, but it happens nevertheless. As you focus more and more about yourself and talking about yourself, you start to ignore the audience. And the more you practice talking about you, the better you get at ignoring the audience. Finally, as you start to get really, really good about talking about whatever you're really fascinated about, you become good at completely ignoring the audience. And after a while, you're speaking, the audience learns to ignore you. Because it only seems fair. You're ignoring them, you're talking about yourself, and while you're talking about yourself, I'm going to be thinking about myself. So pretty soon there's this wall. Audience. Here, you here, the audience there. And there's just this wall between you. There's no connection. Think about it. What's the most common word you hear a speaker use? I.
And me.
And me, yes, I and me. All right. What's the word next most common to I? Sort of like I. We. Exactly, we. You ever heard one of those speeches? We do this and we do that, we're powerful this way, and we're going to do it, and we're going to make this thing happen, and we're going to get together. You ever heard one of those speeches and thought, I don't know what we are going to do, but I'm not going there. Yes. There's no way I'm going there. It just ain't going to happen. We can march wherever they want. I'm not going with we. Right? That's why it's so powerful to use the you. Just consider the simple example. Let's say somebody says to you, I'm going to tell you today about the way to do whatever, change your life, whatever it is. And you might be thinking, I don't care about the way you're going to be telling me to do what. What if instead you said, today you're going to learn how to transform your life, how to open up to new possibilities you never imagined before, and really learn how to make that change you've always wanted. That'd be more powerful, more interesting, more engaging, pull you in. You'd be more likely to think, okay, tell me more. That's the power of using you. Now, you might be saying, wait a minute, Tim. I like talking about me. I'm good at talking about me. I know what I like, and I ain't going to stop. I've been talking about me all this time. It's not going to stop. I say, fine. Ignore your audience. They'll ignore you. Ignore your audience. Never make any connection. Ignore your audience, and probably people will forget things the moment after you say it. Or, use the you. Connect in with your audience. Use the you. Engage the audience. Use the you. Make the audience remember what you're going to say, and maybe even be willing to think about doing the things you want them to do. Once you use the you, you'll be large and in charge. You'll be controlling the entire situation. It's a simple change to make, not a big deal. A one-step process, changing over the word you, and you start to enjoy being up here more because it becomes a group thing, working together. Covered a lot of things today. Don't expect you to remember everything. Remember nothing else, just remember this one thing. Very next speech you do, always remember, use the you.
I thought you were able to drive the point home, to use the word you in your speeches and to not focus on yourself. I also wrote that you projected your voice very well and you used your body language very well.
I was able to find good things about your speech right away, but then the rest of the speech I was concentrating what I can find to put on the right side of the column, and I wasn't able to come up with anything. But what I found it fascinating was how clear your speech was, and it really took your time. You seemed very relaxed and enjoyed your speech as well. And also, I felt like I got some good tips to take it away from your speech. And your body language was great also.
Don't repeat comments, but I must repeat one of them because I thought you did a really good job at it, including body language. I think when most people present, they're in the same spot, very stiff, not really fluid like you were with your hand motions and your, I guess, upper torso, for lack of better phrases. But I was really impressed by that. I also liked how you were able to control the pacing of your talk and also pause. I think when anybody is talking, they might be nervous, might keep talking and rambling and fill all the silence, whereas that may not even have an impact. In addition, changing your tone of voice, and then when time was up, you did a nice job summarizing everything and closing up the presentation. If I were to give recommendations for areas of improvement, I probably would have asked more questions to the group earlier on in the presentation. I think around the time you started talking about ignoring the audience and talking, that's when you asked what word comes to mind that we mentioned the most, being I, we, and then you turned that into the you theme. In addition, I think tables tend to be a barrier between the speaker and the audience. I know this is a kind of a big table within a big room, but maybe walking a little bit over here or over there, engaging with the group rather than using this as a fence that prevents you from doing it, I think could help.
I have to say I enjoyed the topic very much because I had noticed in past meetings, there we go, that's the word, that you had mentioned use the you, and I'm like, where did he pick that up from? And now I know. So that was cool. I also like the very personable sort of aspect to the speech, and you're very friendly. You're not dictating. You're being very, friendly about it. So that was nice too. The only opportunity for improvement I picked out because I was, for some reason, just doing the timing was taking up most of my attention, which is rather sad. But whatever. It just seemed like it was it needed a little more substance to the speech, like a little more reason why using the you is important. I mean, the story was good, but it just seemed like it just needed a little more meat to it.
Fellow Toastmasters and Tim, have you ever had somebody tell you something that you think, I could use that right away? I think that was part of the gift of Tim's speech. It is something that we can use right away. For those of us who give speeches fairly often or talk to groups of people, I think we do tend to forget that people's attention wanders off. And I've found that when you remind people that I know you're out there and I think this would be of interest to you, I think you get more attention. One of the things that I particularly liked in Tim's speech was his telling us about the importance of doing this, and having learned it from another Toastmaster, Rocky. I think that perhaps one way you can make this even a stronger point, you said Rocky knows his speaking, and the reason Rocky really knows his speaking and has perfected it is because he makes his living off of it. If he wasn't, he's a salesman, he's a professional salesman, and if he's not a good speaker, if he can't read his audience, he's not making any money. So Rocky knows how to read an audience, and I think that that's something you can add to add even more emphasis to the speech and why this is so important. Another thing that I liked was when you talked about, have you ever heard a speech where they have the we, and you're thinking, nah, not me, I'm not part of the we. I think, and that is a common problem for me, because it just drives me crazy when people start talking about we, and I have not yet joined. So do not count me in. And you can talk about the importance of convincing people to join you by saying, you and I have this in common. You and I have this in common. We have something in common. We are a we. Let's get going. We can do something. So by connecting to groups of people or individuals in the audience, you create a we, which might not have been there before they heard you speak. And I think that's something that's very helpful. I also like the fact that you practiced what you preached when he was speaking to us. Did you notice that he did ask us questions? He did use the you. I think I counted 3 different times, but unfortunately I didn't think of starting to count them until fairly late in the speech, so that may not be correct. One suggestion I would have for you is perhaps if you can work even more ways of using the you. Is there some other way of using the you besides the specific word you? Is there some way to say, I'm talking to you, but I'm not using the word you. I'm talking to women who are interested in joining the club and men who are interested in joining the club. If any of those people are here, I have some information that I think might be of interest. So perhaps, I don't know if separating out groups of individual people would be helpful, but that's certainly something that I'm interested in doing or learning about. Several other people have mentioned that your manner was not professorial. It seemed to unite you with us. I think that's a common problem. Sometimes when people are giving us information, it's I know everything and you know nothing. And I liked your manner of presenting this. In conclusion, I would say I enjoyed your speech. I got something out of it. I think it's something that I can use immediately. I think other people in their comments to you have also indicated it's something that you can use immediately.